1942 is not much different from what is happening now as ICE is stalking the streets of our city and the terror that ICE is inflicting on our sisters and brothers in the immigrant communities. So it's this. Thank you. Good for you. So it's the power of this place that drives our mission here at the Democracy Center, which is to ensure that the injustices of the past are never repeated, to stand up against authoritarianism, and to defend the principles that define a free and just society. The center, this Democracy Center, for us is a beacon for democracy, for civil rights, and for memory, because it's our living commitment to ensure that we will not reverse course on our nation's journey towards a more just and equitable future. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now it's my very great honor to welcome to the stage Sarah Sadwani, who is from the California Redistricting Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anne, and thank you for hosting us here today in this most historic site. My name is Sarah Sadwani. I'm a political science professor, and I served as a commissioner on the California Citizens Redistricting Commission. In 2020, I had the distinct honor of being selected through a lottery draw. I'm not an elected official. I believe in good governance. And to serve on the California Citizens Redistricting Commission was one of the proudest moments of my life. I had the opportunity to serve with some of the finest Californians. No disrespect to those behind. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, we came together and we did what we don't find very often in American politics today. We passed our maps unanimously. We worked collaboratively across the aisle to move forward something that could be fair and just for Californians. And I couldn't be more proud of the districts and the maps that we have today. They're competitive, some of the most competitive seats in the nation. Probably some of you here don't love that, but on balance, for democracy, that's a good thing. It's the kind of thing we should have in all 50 states across this country. We used a community-driven approach. We received almost 40,000 pieces of community testimony from Californians far and wide, and we expanded opportunities for communities of color, communities that have long been historically excluded at the ballot box, for Latinos, for Asian Americans, and for Black Americans to elect the candidates of their choice. But these are extraordinary times, and extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures. We have witnessed masked gunmen kidnapping our neighbors off the streets, and my understanding is they're outside waiting to do it again. We have seen not just the toleration of political violence, but the encouragement of it on January 6th against nonpartisan election officials, and the deployment of the National Guard in our cities, turning our cities into police states. And if that wasn't enough, we are watching executive overreach that no doubt is making our founding fathers turn in their graves. And we have to take action. These are the hallmarks of a democracy in peril. My political science colleagues, Stephen Levitsky and Daniel Ziblatt, who authored a very famous book at this point, How Democracies Die, wrote, "Protecting democracy requires more than fright and outrage. We must be humble and we must be bold." I'm here today to be humble, to set aside the good work of California. But I do so with the expectation that this is a one-time occurrence, that this does not subvert the will of the people of California. And I call upon these many leaders who have joined here today to be bold, to fight for American democracy, to not just pass maps for 2026, but to fight for independent redistricting in all 50 states so that we can level the playing field of a representative democracy. Thank you. And now we'll hear from Jody Hicks.
Wow, thank you so much. Thanks for having me here today. I am Jody Hicks. I'm the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood Affiliates of California. So representing, thank you, representing 7 affiliates, over 100 health centers throughout California, and standing here in the strongest of support of California's response to Texas, to any other state attempt to rig this next election to hold on to power. And I want to tell you why. If you remember, it was not that long ago that this administration changed the rules to appoint anti-choice justices to the Supreme Court with the mission to overturn Roe. And that's what they did. 50 years of protections that women had are obliterated because of this Supreme Court. And what they tried to tell everyone, it's okay, we're just putting the rights in the states. So California responded. This governor, these policymakers behind me, we responded. We doubled down on our values here in California, our commitment to reproductive freedom. Voters responded. Voters responded with a constitutional amendment here in California to protect reproductive freedom. Voters responded to what was happening across the country by flipping congressional seats here in California, by kicking out those anti-abortion extremists in an attempt to flip the House. And despite that, despite the voices of the voters here in California, just 3 weeks ago, Congress, all 9 Republican Congress members here in California, voted to defund Planned Parenthood. They knew it would disproportionately target California because we have invested in improving access to reproductive health care, because those are our values here in California. Our health centers, there's over 100 of them. Over 80% of them are Medicaid patients, our most vulnerable communities. And they didn't have the votes to do a outright ban, so they did a backdoor ban, which is essentially putting economic sanctions on Planned Parenthood health centers for providing abortion. So what does that mean? No federal funds go to abortion services, so we're not talking about attacking the service. They described a Planned Parenthood health center, and they will no longer pay for all of the services that we provide. So we are talking about STI and cancer screenings. We are talking about birth control. We're talking about sometimes prenatal care, that they are taking away access, taking away the choice for those Medicaid patients to come to their most trusted place, which is Planned Parenthood. So what do they think the voters' response will be to that? I'll tell you what it'll be. It'll be, you take away our freedoms, we'll take away your seats. We'll flip the House. They know that will be the response. But what are they going to do as a response to that? They're going to rig elections. They're going to rig elections in Texas, wherever they need to, in order to ensure that they have power. So let me be clear. If Republicans are successful in consolidating power, safeguarding their majority in Congress, a national abortion ban is not off the table. And while California voters, we enshrine the right to abortion in our California Constitution, but a federal ban would override our state's protections. And we can't let that happen. We can't sit idly by while the Trump administration, while their backers in Congress pursue every avenue to strip blue states of their autonomy, of people's fundamental rights. Republicans in Washington, across the country, they continue to become more bold. They're more brazen, they're more cruel. And if we do not fight back, they will continue to seize unfettered power, defy the will of the people, and threaten the health and well-being of all of us. So 3 years ago, we stood before California voters and asked them to stand with us to put protections in our California Constitution. And guess what? 67% of Californians did that. So today I'm standing before you again, asking those same Californians to once again protect reproductive freedom, protect the values of California, and stop Donald Trump. We have to fight back. It is the right thing to do. It's the necessary thing to do. And this is California. We don't have another choice. Thank you. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Erica Jones with the California Teachers Association. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Erica Jones, and I am the Secretary-Treasurer of the California Teachers Association, a union of 310,000 public school educators. I am also an elementary school teacher here in Los Angeles. The Trump administration is waging war on every public institution we hold dear. In the short few months he has been in office, he has worked with Republicans, including 9 from California, to freeze funds for critical education programs, including after-school programs, teacher trainings, and migrant education programs. He's cut health care for millions of our students and their families, attempted to dismantle the Department of Education, and pass a voucher program designed to destroy public education entirely. There have also been unprecedented attacks on our immigrant communities and our LGBTQ+ students and families. The Trump administration removal of schools as safe zones from ICE has unleashed a level of trauma and fear that no one should have to endure, let alone our children. Just this week, a 15-year-old student here in Los Angeles was detained by federal agents outside Arleta High School. Our students deserve better. The majority of Americans are not with him on these vicious attacks. So what does Trump want to do? Rig the next election and steal our right to fair representation? He wants to stack the deck to keep slashing public services to pad the pockets of his billionaire donors? I taught my kindergartners to be kind and to help each other, not to cheat and be a bully. Y'all, 5-year-olds get it. Why can't he? I'm here today because educators across California, from Calexico to Crescent City, are ready to fight back. We spent months reaching out to the 9 Republican representatives in California. Several refused to even meet with their local teachers in their offices. Some lied directly to our faces and promised they wouldn't vote for draconian cuts to our schools and our health care, only then to go back to DC and side with Trump and vote to harm our kids and our families here in California. Given these extreme threats and these corrupt politicians who will throw their own communities under the bus, our union stands in full support of this ballot initiative. We are ready to do whatever it takes to stop this power grab and fight back against any and all attacks on our democracy, on our students, and on public education. It is now my honor to introduce Lorena Gonzalez, President of the California Federation of Labor Unions.
So, good morning. My name is Lorena Gonzalez. I am the president of the California Federation of Labor Unions, AFL-CIO, representing 2.3 million workers throughout the state, over 1,300 different local unions from every sector you can imagine. And we stand with our colleagues today in calling for a response. And I'm going to say that very clearly. This is not something we take lightly. We voted on this, and it was unanimous among our unions for one reason. We're not a partisan organization. A lot of people forget that. We have Democrats and Republicans. And we understand that some of our members even voted for Donald Trump. We understand that. They were told by him that he wanted to make us more safe, that he wanted to deport criminals. And instead, he's been deporting and targeting workers and grandmothers and children and dreamers. They were told, even our Republican members, that he was for working people, that somehow he cared about bringing manufacturing and jobs back to America and to make sure that working people were taken care of. And what has he done? He has systematically destroyed our federal government unions by abolishing, basically, collective bargaining agreements that were decades in the making. He has taken away the right to collectively bargain of every employee he possibly can, and that is not pro-worker. So we tell our members who believed him, it's okay. He fucking lied. We don't blame them, but we do tell them this. And they know this because they showed it in the last election. Even those who voted for Donald Trump in some of our reddest areas in the state said, we are going to send a check by voting for a Democrat to Congress. We had split ticket voting in a number of districts, and in fact, flipped 3 of those. That's what Donald Trump was afraid of. That's why he went to his lapdog in Texas and said, do something for me because they're about to come get a couple more. Yes, we were. But if he wants to cheat, we're going to fight back. We are tired of lapdogs. We want people who are independent, not obedient. And it's time for us to show a little disobedience to Donald Trump. It's time for us to fight with everything we have, because if we care about working people, and I very much do, and I know the people behind me do, if we care about unions, the right to make better for your life, to work a hard day and be able to come home and afford a house, to put your kids through college, to put food on the table, if we care about this, then we have to fight and make sure elections are fair. We have to make sure that there is a check in Congress, and California can unilaterally do that. And we are proud to stand with our governor, Gavin Newsom, who is ready and asking us to fight back. We will fight back every single day, and we will go to every one of our members and every member of the public to remind them that if you care about your future, if you care about your kids' future, you have to recognize this. I don't care what your job is. I don't care what part of the state you live in. I don't care where you came from. You have more in common with an undocumented farm worker than you did with the fucking billionaires who are causing this problem in the first place. And since I've exceeded my number of fucks today, it is my pleasure to bring up somebody who has seen firsthand the destruction caused by this administration. My brother, David Huerta, the president of SEIU, California State Council.
So I see a lot of union members in the house. When we fight, when we fight, and fight we will. Take a deep breath here. My name is David Huerta. I'm president of SEIU USWW and president of SEIU California. And I stand here today on behalf of over 750,000 workers represented by SEIU in California, healthcare professionals, janitors, airport workers, security officers, caregivers, educational workers in every corner of our state. And SEIU members are ready to fight. SEIU members across the board, black, brown, Asian, white, we are worried about our democracy, and we are choosing to act. We've been protesting on the streets, and now we're gearing up to the fight at the ballot box. Workers, and in particular workers of color, are rising up to defend our democracy. And SEIU members are no strangers to fighting for democracy. Our members know what's at stake, and they know that we're in for a fight. But when we are in a fight, we're all in that fight. And we're ready now because democracy is at stake. Republicans in Texas, Washington, D.C., and other states are colluding with Trump to consolidate one-party authoritarian power in Washington. The same Republicans that changed the rules to pass their atrocious big pile of garbage. I'd say shit. Well, actually, I'm going to say big pile of shit because it is a big pile of shit. Are now trying to change the rules to stay in power. Working people will not stand back and let it happen. Republicans have one goal, and that goal is to silence the voices of working people, divide brown and black communities in particular, unleash terror in immigrant communities, and establish a government that will serve corporations and the wealthy, not the working people. And it's particularly important that we are gathered in our beautiful city of Los Angeles, because it is here on June 6th that they unleashed hell on our streets. It's here on these streets that masked men came into communities, unidentified, incarcerating, taking working people, taking mothers, fathers, aunts, uncles, neighbors off our streets. And for me is with the great sense of pride as an Angelino that we saw our community defending family, defending community, but most of all, defending our democracy. And we will continue to defend our city. We will continue to defend our state. We will continue to defend our families, and we continue to defend this democracy with all the power of nonviolent action and with the power of our vote. We have no intention to let up at all in this effort. We must have a response to those who choose to do this, and we cannot allow the voters in this country to be disenfranchised, perhaps permanently, by the actions of an authoritarian. SEIU members care too much about fairness, about our right to vote, and our democracy to let that happen. And we do not back down from a fight. We support Governor Newsom and the legislative leaders who are committed to taking bold action to protect our democracy. California voters must be given the chance to save our democracy. And I trust California voters will save our democracy. We will not sit silently while extremists manipulate elections, disenfranchise the majority of voters, and take away our rights. We know the rest of the country is waiting to see what happens because California, once again, is at the very front line of our fight against authoritarianism. It is our time to rise up for working people to lead the fight to save our democracy. Our democracy is at stake, and SEIU members stand ready to defend it. We are more committed now than ever before. As I travel around the country, people ask me, how is California doing? I tell them, we are ready to fight. And that's why we're here today. And if you allow me, I'd like to say in Spanish a few words. Primeramente, es un orgullo estar aquí hoy día. Mi nombre es David Huerta, presidente de SEIU USWW y presidente de SEIU California. Representamos más de 750,000 trabajadores en todo California. Y estamos aquí hoy día porque ahorita nosotros tenemos que tomar una decisión. como votantes en este país, en este estado, este gran estado, right? Nosotros tenemos que tomar una decisión a defender nuestra democracia. Sabemos las consecuencias del resultado de las elecciones de noviembre y lo estamos viviendo en este momento, en este tiempo. Y ahora tenemos que tomar una decisión, a corregir los errores de noviembre y tomar un voto en este noviembre para defender la democracia de este país. Vinimos aquí a este país para una mejor vida. Vinimos aquí a sacrificar para nuestros hijos, a trabajar, a construir. Y nuestra contribución es algo que se debe respetar. El mano de obra se respete. El mano de obra es digno. Y el mano de obra lo vamos a mostrar en noviembre. Porque jamás vamos a tomar decisiones decidiendo nuestro voto por el costo de un huevo en vez del bienestar de nuestras familias. Y hoy día empieza esa lucha a corregir el error que hubo y a defender nuestra democracia, nuestra casa, nuestro hogar. Y vamos a seguir defendiendo este hogar que es de este país y vamos a hacerlo en noviembre. ¿Se puede? ¡Sí! ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¿Se puede? ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! ¡Sí se puede! So, it's now my honor and privilege to introduce a friend and a leader on behalf of my family, on behalf of all of us in California, with great gratitude, Assembly Member Isaac Bryan. Sorry.
Can y'all give it up for David Huerta one more time? He's the only person I've seen in my whole life who can come out of an ICE detention cell barefoot and still hit the block the next day ready to stay active. That's the kind of energy that channels the best of what America is, what California is. That's what we're doing in this moment. We're getting active. For me, this feels a little bit personal. Many folks know this. It's in the bio. I was born in Texas, Dallas, Texas. Lived there till I was 7 or 8 years old. California raised me. My little brother Bobby, who didn't grow up with me, lived in Texas his entire life. And he flew out here this week so he could be a part of this moment. Because just like those 55 Democratic legislators in Texas who left courageously, patriotically to break quorum so that their state couldn't lie, cheat, and steal national elections from the American people, that's what my little brother did and coming and letting his voice be heard. This isn't about redistricting. Don't let anybody tell you it's about redistricting. I've seen a few different polls. Do Californians hate gerrymandering? Yes, we do. Do the American people hate gerrymandering? Yes, we do, and we absolutely should. That's not what this is about. This is about whether we will let the authoritarian in the White House break our democracy while we sit silent, while we take a high road that doesn't exist anymore. Now isn't that moment. Now is the time to square up and defend all that we deserve, all that we've built, all that makes this country truly great. And it's really special to start this off here in Los Angeles. Goodness gracious, LA. We had the biggest fires we've ever had in our city's history. And what happened when they denied us federal aid? We rallied together. We created mutual aid. We stepped up for one another like we should. And then they came with ICE and ran through our streets looking for families to separate. And what did we do? We took hundreds of thousands to the streets to stand up and defend folks who were struggling. And then they sent in the military. And then the governor sent them packing. And now... And now, as they're coming for our democracy in its entirety, we are not going to stand down, sit by, turn the other cheek. We are ready to squabble up. We're ready to put this on the ballot. We're ready to organize. And that's exactly what we came to do. Fannie Lou Hamer said, we don't run from our problems. We face them head on. We're going to face this one head on. And next, it is my honor and my privilege to introduce my sister in the legislature, the chair of the Elections Committee in the State Senate, Senator Sabrina Cervantes.
Today, we are at a flashpoint, a crisis set in motion by Donald Trump and Texas Republicans who see the writing on the wall. In Texas, politicians are redrawing the congressional maps so that they can choose their voters instead of letting voters choose them. They are silencing working families, Latino voters, Black voters, and propping up an authoritarian presidency. That's not democracy, that's cheating. Here in California, we do it differently. We have an independent citizen, not politicians, drawing our map so that every vote counts equally. In California, we believe voters should have the final say at the ballot box on any changes. The American people have made it clear. People want their health care, not tax cuts for billionaires. People want lower prices for working families, not tariff taxes that are costing American consumers hundreds of billions of dollars. People want a government that trusts science and fact, not secret police dragging innocent people off the streets into unmarked vans. They know their cruel and draconian policies are failing, and they can't win in competitive districts. So instead of earning the voters' trust, they're trying to cheat their way to victory. We've seen this pattern before. When Trump doesn't have the votes, he manufactures them. Last week, our colleagues in Texas told us about being tracked by the FBI, facing bomb threats, facing death threats. This is the reality that they are living. Republicans like Trump and Abbott have the power to stop it. They refuse. This power grab will not just stop in Texas. If they succeed there, they will try it everywhere. We must be ready to fight because it is our duty to stand up and push back. The stakes are far too high for anyone to sit on the sidelines. The 2026 election could be our last chance to check Trump's reckless abuse of power. National redistricting reform is needed now more than ever. If other states followed California's lead and created independent, nonpartisan commissions, we wouldn't be in this crisis today. If Texas does the right thing and backs off, we will follow suit and our ballot measure will be shelved. Californians, you are the firewall. In this country, the power belongs to the people and we are not giving up. It is now my distinct honor to introduce the House Democratic Caucus Chair, Representative Pete Aguilar.
Thank you so much, Senator Cervantes. I'm Pete Aguilar. I'm chairman of the House Democratic Caucus, and I'm proud to be here on behalf of my House Democratic colleagues in California. We're here today because the Republican-controlled Texas state legislature wants to rig their congressional map at the request of Donald Trump to make it harder for Democrats to flip the U.S. House and to hold Donald Trump accountable. And Texas isn't alone. Other Republican-led states are making deals with the president to try to do the same thing. Donald Trump knows that without a Republican Congress to give him a free pass, his deeply unpopular policies will face real oversight and accountability. Accountability for cutting health care for millions of Californians. Accountability for disappearing people off the streets. Let me be clear. Californians believe in fair maps. Maps drawn by our independent, citizen-led commission that respects the voice of every voter. But if Texas and other red states want to move forward with their partisan power grab to rig the elections, we cannot sit on the sidelines. The 2022 elections gave us a clear warning. When North Carolina Republicans in the state legislature pushed through their partisan redistricting plan, they gained 3 seats in the House of Representatives. That was the exact same margin that they control the majority with today. Under current maps, we need to net just 3 seats for a chance to hold Donald Trump accountable. California has the largest congressional delegation in the country. And with that comes the responsibility to lead the fight against attempts to steal power from the American people. We have to fight to protect our democracy, because if we don't, the harm of this Trump administration inflicting on our country is guaranteed to go unchecked as long as he is in office. Unlike Texas, where they are blatantly disregarding the Voting Rights Act in an attempt to disenfranchise voters, California will hold firm to our values. We will honor the Voting Rights Act and respect the civil rights of our voters. The California Democratic Congressional Delegation and the House Democratic Caucus stand united with Governor Newsom and thank him for his leadership to lead our state legislature at a time to defend the voices of the American people and to stop this Trump-led power grab. We will take this fight to the ballot, and we will let the voters decide, because I know California is ready to lead this fight, and we will not back down. Someone who has a proven track record in defending democracy, our Senator, Adam Schiff.
Thank you, Pete, and thank you for the amazing job that you do. Folks, we are at a precarious moment in our nation's history. All of us in this room who have lived in the generation post-World War II, we're used to growing up in a world of ever-increasing freedoms. We saw new democracies being born. We saw walls coming down. We saw our freedoms expand, the freedom to speak our mind or practice our faith or to love whom we would love, and we thought that this was inexorable, that it was like the moral arc of the universe always bending towards justice, until suddenly we found ourselves in a world where it was not bending towards justice, until suddenly we saw not new democracies being born, but new autocracies. Instead of seeing our own rights here at home expand, we saw them start to contract. And we have come to learn, much to our shock and astonishment, that this thing we call democracy is fragile. And now we are on the precipice of another great threat to our democracy, and that is this effort by Donald Trump and Republicans in Texas to take people's vote away, to make the votes of those in California worth less, by taking lines in Texas that are already horribly gerrymandered to elect Republicans and making them worse. This is a president who has never viewed himself as a president of the United States of America, but only as a president of some of the states and some of the regions that voted for him. This has never been the case in America. But I will say this, you come after our votes in California, and we will fight you tooth and nail. Donald Trump, you do not poke the bear, not while we're around. And people need to understand why he's doing this. They just passed in Congress the most reprehensible bill, their big ugly bill, that is raising health care costs for millions of people. It's going to cost millions of people their health care. As we stand here today, notices are already beginning to go out to tell people their health insurance costs are going up by 50% or 70%. People now, parents that are off buying back-to-school things for their kids, are seeing backpacks up 30% because of his stupid tariff wars, and pens and pencils costing even more. They're having to tell their kids they can't engage in certain extracurricular activities because they just don't have the money. People losing their health care, their costs are going up. This guy ran on a platform of bringing down the cost of the American people, and he's a failure. He's a failure. Costs continue to rise, but take solace in this. As you, the American people, are paying more and more for your everyday lives, Donald Trump's economy is going great. His personal economy is great. He's building a $200 million ballroom for himself. He just got his third Air Force One. He's making more money for himself and his family than he ever has in his whole life put together. He doesn't give a rat's ass about you. Not in California, not in Texas. He only cares about himself. It is his underlying corruption that is responsible for the reason why you are struggling hard to make a living. And we are going to fight back. We're going to make sure that here in California, your vote matters. If they're going to play with fire, we're going to fight fire with fire. And let me just say this to quote our wonderful governor, Donald Trump, thank you for your attention to this matter. It is now my great pleasure to recognize my wonderful colleague, Alex Padilla. Thank you, Alex, for all your amazing leadership.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. And I have a question for the people of California. Are we ready to stand up for our democracy? Are we ready to speak up for our democracy? Are we ready to vote this November and defend our democracy? I thought so. Look, let me also add a little bit more light as to why we are here in this moment. It's been nearly 7 months of this Trump administration. And when we stop and look at it, you can't help but come back to the words costs, chaos, and corruption. Right? The costs on working families keep going up and up. These failed tariff wars are increasing costs for us. When you deport workers in agriculture and construction, you can't wonder why the cost of housing goes up and the cost of food goes up. Billionaires are getting their tax breaks, but working families are paying the price. Chaos. It's not just these on-again, off-again tariff wars out of the White House. It's what's happening as communities are terrorized in the city of Los Angeles, throughout the state of California, and beyond. That's right, when masked agents come out of unmarked cars and disappear people, that is intentionally created chaos, violating the Constitution. Not just bad for democracy, it's also bad for the economy. But worst of all is the corruption. And I won't get into the ways that Donald Trump and the whole family is enriching themselves by leveraging this position. We're here to talk about what's happening in Texas and California as it pertains to redistricting. When Donald Trump calls officials in Texas and says, give me 5 more Republican seats, didn't it sound the same as when he called the Secretary of State in Georgia after losing in 2020 and saying, find me 11,000 more votes? It's corruption. He's trying to rig the system. One of the earlier speakers said extraordinary times call for extraordinary measures because we're not living in normal times. In normal times, a political party in power would be proud of their accomplishments, and they'd be running on their record asking for voters to keep them in power. That's not what's happening right now. With Donald Trump and complicit Republicans in Congress gutting health care, threatening Social Security, undermining the Constitution with this immigration enforcement deportation agenda obsession they have of 3,000 arrests per day. They know they're not just unpopular, they're wrong. And the only hope they have of keeping power next November is to rig the system. And so that's what they're doing. They're rigging the lines. They're rigging the system. They're trying to rig next year's election, and California's not going to stand for it. Como mi hermano David Huerta, unas palabras en español. Claro que se puede porque juntos podemos. Estamos aquí anunciando el esfuerzo que los líderes de California están listos de tomar para defender nuestra democracia nacional. Todavía hay tiempo para los líderes de Texas que decidan hacer lo correcto y no entregarle a Donald Trump lo que él está exigiendo. Cuando él llama al gobernador y los legisladores de Texas diciendo, deme 5 más distritos republicanos, es como cuando llamó al secretario de Estado de Georgia después de haber perdido la elección el 2020, cuando les pidió, encuéntrenme 11,000 más votos. Estos no son tiempos normales. Tiempos normales en nuestro gobierno, nuestra política, es un partido en poder, orgullosos de sus logros, defendiendo su récord ante los votantes, pidiendo apoyo para seguir en la mayoría, seguir en el poder. Pero vean lo que ha ocurrido los últimos 7 meses. Recortes a programas de salud. Costos aumentando para familias trabajadoras cada día más. Poniendo en riesgo el seguro social. Bien saben que no es una agenda popular y bien saben que es una agenda dañosa a nuestro país. En vez de defender su récord, en vez de hablar de sus logros, quieren cambiar las reglas de nuestra democracia y quieren asegurar que los líderes en poder en Texas decidan las elecciones, no los votantes. Es un ataque a la democracia de Texas y de California y la democracia nacional. Pero en California nos vamos a parar, nos vamos a poner a trabajar y vamos a defender a nuestra democracia. Este noviembre los votantes de California van a determinar si seguimos con una democracia fuerte o no. Es la cuestión, la pregunta de hoy. So this November, the people of California will stand up and speak up and determine whether we defend our democracy, because California is proud to lead. California always leans in on the biggest challenges, not just for our state, but for our nation. And we're going to do it together, because a wise governor that I know is fond of saying, if you want to go far, go alone. Excuse me, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And the person who has brought us together for this fight of all fights is our friend, Governor Gavin Newsom.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you.
When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win.
Thank you. Thank all of you. In the spirit of that African proverb that Senator Padilla was referencing. You want to go fast, go alone. You want to go far, go together. And I look back at this audience, and I look at all of you united in this cause, and I'm reminded where we are at this precious moment in time. We are in Los Angeles. The most diverse city in the most diverse county, in the most diverse state, in the world's most diverse democracy. And I've long believed that the world looks to us, to all of you, to see that it's possible to live together and advance together. and prosper together across every conceivable and imaginable difference. What makes LA great, what makes California great, and what makes the United States of America great is that at our best, we don't tolerate our diversity, we celebrate our diversity. And it's a point of pride because we're all in this together. Where are we? At Democracy Center. And right outside, at this exact moment, are dozens and dozens of ICE agents. Donald Trump, you think it's coincidental? No. Donald Trump and his minions, Tom Homan, tough guy, clearly decided, coincidentally or not, that this was a location to advance ICE arrests. Indiscriminate? Perhaps. We'll find out later. It was certainly indiscriminate when a 15-year-old disabled boy had a gun put to his head in Los Angeles trying to go to school just a few days ago. I met with it. I don't need to belabor this, except I want to level set. People are scared. People are fearful. You had a United States senator that was thrown down to the ground in a federal building. Alex Padilla. J.D. Vance's name is Alex Padilla, not Jose Padilla. That's the Vice President of the United States. There's another museum not so far away from us, talks about those 53 days. Some of you know what I'm referring to. Wake up, America. This is a serious moment. Wake up to what's going on. Wake up to the fear, the anxiety. Wake up to what's happening, not just here in Los Angeles, where we saw our streets militarized. We saw our due process rights thrown out the window. You heard the word disappeared. I was with a 12-year-old boy born in Oxnard, California, whose mother and father were disappeared. 20 years going to the same packing facility every single day. He didn't even know how to get back into his own home, into his own house. Had no brothers and sisters. He has now disappeared in an attempt to find his parents. That's Trump's America. That's the moment we're living in. So these are sober times. And so I'm deeply grateful to all of you for standing up and for being here today. I'm grateful for all the elected officials that are here, members of Congress, not just our 2 U.S. senators, to members of the California legislature for having the courage of their convictions, for standing tall and standing firm, to recognize today is Liberation Day in the state of California. And as Senator Schiff said, Donald Trump, you have poked the bear, and we will punch back. Here's the good thing about California, folks. We're the size of 21 state populations combined. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. We're not a small, isolated state. I know they say don't mess with Texas. Well, don't mess with the great Golden State. And so we're here with our state of mind, with the clarity of our purpose and conviction, to recognize that we need to reconcile the world we're living in. We do have agency. We're not bystanders in this world. We can shape the future, and that's what we intend to do today. We're here because Donald Trump, on January 6th, tried to light democracy on fire, tried to wreck this country, tried to steal an election, as Alex just said, by trying to dial in for 11, almost 12,000 votes. And here we are, in open and plain sight, before one vote is cast in the 2026 midterm election. And here he is once again trying to rig the system. He doesn't play by a different set of rules. He doesn't believe in the rules. And as a consequence, we need to disabuse ourselves of the way things have been done. It's not good enough to just hold hands, have a candlelight vigil, and talk about the way the world should be. We have got to recognize the cards that have been dealt. And we have got to meet fire with fire. And we've got to be held to a higher level of accountability. So that's what this is about. It's not complicated. We're doing this in reaction to a president of the United States that called a sitting governor of the state of Texas and said, find me 5 seats. We're doing it in reaction to that act. We're doing it mindful of our higher angels and better angels. We're doing it mindful that we want to model better behavior, as we've been doing for 15 years in the state of California with our independent redistricting commission. But we cannot unilaterally disarm. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear. We can't stand back and watch this democracy disappear district by district all across this country, not just in Texas, but in Missouri, where J.D. Vance went just a week ago, in Indiana, in places like Ohio, in places like Florida. We need to stand up, not just California. Other blue states need to stand up. We need to be firm in our resolve. We need to put back. So we're here in that light. And I'm grateful to have remarkable partners in the legislature. It's a tall task. We're asking them for 2/3 of a legislative consent, but this is the difference. This is the difference between what's happening in Texas and what's happening here in California. We didn't receive a phone call from the President of the United States to then quietly go in the back room and start drawing maps and legislatively try to jam them through against the consent of the people. We're doing precisely the opposite. We're working through a very transparent, temporary, and public process. We're putting the maps on the ballot, and we're giving the power to the people. This will be the first redistricting that's ever done that. That's the difference. We tried to raise the standards, and these guys are not playing by any set of rules. So this time requires us to act anew, not just think anew. And so I'm grateful to all of the remarkable leaders that have stepped up, this unifying effort here in the state of California. And we'll be asking for the people on November 4th, a special election, coinciding with a lot of local municipal elections, to provide a temporary pathway for congressional maps. We will affirm our commitment to the state independent redistricting after the 2030 census, but we're asking the voters for their consent to do midterm redistricting in 2026, 2028, and 2030 for the congressional maps, to respond to what's happening in Texas, to respond what Trump is trying to excite. And we'll do so in a way that also affirms our desire as a state to level the playing field all across the United States. We believe in a national independent redistricting framework. And we believe that's the right goal and the right thing to pursue. And I will just state for the fact, Zoe Lofgren, who runs our California delegation, she authored the bill. Democrats unanimously supported that National Independent Redistricting Commission. Republicans were nowhere to be found. They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides, because they know what Donald Trump knows. He's going to lose the midterms. He knows de facto his presidency ends in 17 months when Speaker Jeffries is back in office. He knows it. Why else would you try to rig the system? Why else would you make the phone call? He's a failed president. Who else sends ICE same time having a conversation like this? Someone who's weak. Someone who's broken. Someone whose weakness is masquerading his strength. The most unpopular president in modern history. An economy that's collapsing all around him. You saw the new wholesale prices going up almost a full percentage point today. Inflation is going up. Job creation is going down. He's trying to rewrite history, Smithsonian, censoring historical facts. And in the spirit of what Adam Schiff said, he's trying to put America in reverse on voting rights, civil rights, LGBTQ rights, on women's rights. He wants to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. That's what this is all about. It's about power, and I want to end on this. And we are about to give power back to the people. You have, on November 4th, in California, you have the power to stand up to Trump. You have the power to declare that you support a system that is not rigged. You have the power on November 4th to stand up for people that are being bullied. You have the power to stand up for people that are being intimidated. You have the power to stand up to the rule of law. We're giving the people of this state the power to save democracy, not just in California, but all across the United States of America. I hope we are waking up to this reality. Wake up, America. Wake up to what Donald Trump is doing. Wake up to his assaults. Wake up to the assault on institutions and knowledge and history. Wake up to his war on science and public health. In his war against the American people. This is a guy who lays claim to want to get a Nobel Prize, sitting there and bending his knee to Mr. Putin. You have the power to straighten this out. And so I want to again just thank everybody for exercising not just their formal authority, yes, that's what we're doing, but also sharing their moral authority at this moment. I want to thank everybody for being here today, for being here tomorrow, and most importantly, we're counting on all of you on November 4th to be there for each other to win this election and stand up for our democracy. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you.